The Passover is one of the greatest accounts in the Hebrew Scriptures. For those of the Jewish faith, it is one of their most holy celebrations. For Christians, it is the basis for Jesus' Last Supper and for our Holy Communion. It's the final test for Pharaoh and the Egyptians and the final assurance for the Israelites that God heard their prayers and would free them from slavery. So many themes and meanings meet in today's lesson that it's hard to decide where to begin. So in an effort to continue our series of unpacking the Old Testament lessons, I want to take a look back to chapter 5 of Exodus and the beginning of the confrontation between Moses and the Pharaoh. And as I reread the entire story, some new aspects popped out at me, things I hadn't seen before. There's a story under the story, a story about people and about power, a story of how the power of God changes communities that did not expect to change, and how that change contributed to the Exodus, the freedom from slavery, and the rebirth of a community of faith. From the time that God called to Moses out of the burning bush, Moses was looking for ways to get out of that call. Again and again he says to God, "Why did you send me?" And even with the help of Aaron and the miracle of his staff that turned into a snake or parted the waters, Moses became discouraged again and again. But God kept sending him back again and again. And in the process, the people of Egypt, from the powerful to the ordinary, began to see the enslaved Israelites in a new way, even sympathize with them and certainly respect them. So let me recap. First of all, when Moses went to Pharaoh to ask him to release the people so that they could go celebrate a festival in the wilderness, Pharaoh commented that if the slaves had time to worship, they must not have enough work to do. So the Egyptian taskmasters increased the count of bricks to be made every day, and then commanded the bricks be made without straw, the necessary straw to bind them together with the mud. And the overseers were the first to notice that when they went to complain to Pharaoh that the number of bricks was declining, the Pharaoh said of the Israelites, "Lazy. That's what you are, lazy. That's why you keep saying, 'Let's go and sacrifice to the Lord.' Now get to work. You will not be given any straw, yet you must produce your full quota of bricks." The Israelite overseers realized they were in trouble when they were told, "You are not to reduce the number of bricks required from you each day." When they left Pharaoh, they found Moses and Aaron waiting to meet them, and they said, "May the Lord look on you and judge you. You have made us obnoxious to Pharaoh and his officials and have put a sword in their hand to kill us." Moses, knowing that he was now in trouble with both the enslaved Israelites and the overseers, begged God to let him quit. He reminded the Israelites of the promises God had made to them to bring them out of slavery, to take them to the promised land, to be their God, the one who heard their groans and would free them. Exodus chapter 6 verse 9 reads, "Moses told this to the Israelites, but they would not listen to Moses because of their broken spirit and cruel slavery." And yet, things were beginning to shift. Attitudes were changing among the Egyptians and the Israelites, fueled by the cataclysmic events of the plagues, 10 of them. Now, I used to believe that these were exceptional kind of miracles, but as we list them, you might begin to see that they are related to the natural order of God's creation, broken and twisted as they are. Plague number 1, the pollution of the Nile. Moses struck the water of the Nile and it turned red and stank. The fish died and no one could drink the water. Now, have you ever heard of the red tide? NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, defines red tide as harmful algal blooms, or HABs, occur when colonies of algae, simple plants that live in the sea, and fresh water grow out of control while producing toxic or harmful effects on people, fish, shellfish, marine mammals, and birds. The human illnesses caused by HABs, though rare, can be debilitating or even fatal. Red tide. Plague number 2, frogs. During the red tide, the Nile overflowed its banks. The resulting mudflats were the perfect breeding place for frogs, and breed they did until a point when the mudflats finally dried up and the frogs began to die. According to Exodus, they piled up everywhere, which leads to plagues 3 and 4, gnats and swarms of flies. Yuck! The gnats were breeding in the stagnant pools left from the Nile mudflats. The flies feasted on the dead frogs, and both insects swarmed into the homes of the Egyptians. At this point, however, God has Moses up the ante, for in the land of Goshen, where the Israelites live, they were spared from the insect horde. Pharaoh begins to bargain. He, quote, summoned Moses and Aaron and said, go sacrifice to your God within the land. But Moses said, it would not be right for us to do so, for the sacrifices that we offer to the Lord our God are offensive to the Egyptians. If we offer them in the sight of the Egyptians, sacrifices that are offensive for them, will they not stone us? We must go 3 days' journey into the wilderness and sacrifice to the Lord our God as he commands us. So Pharaoh said, I will let you go sacrifice to the Lord your God in the wilderness, provided you do not go very far away. Pray for me. Then Moses said, as soon as I leave you, I will pray to the Lord that swarms of flies may depart tomorrow from Pharaoh, from his officials, and from his people. Only do not let Pharaoh again deal falsely by not letting the people go to sacrifice to the Lord. But as we know, Pharaoh went back on his word, and the plagues continue. Plagues 5 and 6, cattle plague and boils. The livestock of the Egyptians began to die, possibly as a result of the illness carried by the flies and the gnats. But the livestock of the Israelites was spared. And as we'll see in a minute, the Israelites had continued their custom of raising sheep, as did their ancestors. The plague of boils may also have been as a result of the dead livestock and the infections coming from the rotting corpses. And on it went. As we reach the next series of plagues, the intensity grows. Plague 7 consists of a violent hail and thunderstorm. God is patiently presenting a case for God's sovereignty over the power of creation. Even as Jesus had authority over the winds and the waves, so God demonstrated the power to bring weather to bear on the stubbornness of Pharaoh and the Egyptians. Plague 8, clouds of locusts. This is another natural phenomenon in that part of the world, which seemed to reach a special intensity. The hail had already brought down the crops, and now the locusts finished them off. But as the Egyptian officials were beginning to put pressure on their monarch, Exodus chapter 10, verses 7 through 11, Pharaoh's officials said to him, how long shall this fellow be a snare to us? Let the people go, so that they may worship the Lord their God. And you do not yet understand that Egypt is ruined? So Moses and Aaron were brought back to Pharaoh, and he said to them, go worship the Lord your God, but which ones are to go? Moses said, we will go with our young and our old. We will go with our sons and our daughters and with our flocks and herds, because we have the Lord's festival to celebrate. But Pharaoh said to Moses, the Lord indeed be with you, if ever I let your little ones go with you. Plainly you have some evil purpose in mind. No, never! Your men may go and worship the Lord, for that's what you're asking. And they were driven out from Pharaoh's presence. End quote. There's a shift in the attitudes of the leadership. The Egyptians are beginning to question the decisions of Pharaoh, and the Israelites are beginning to realize the depth and strength of their community. Moses points out that everyone is involved in the Exodus. Plague 9, darkness. Pharaoh begged Moses to rid the land of locusts, and when Moses prayed, a strong wind came from the west, a desert wind, and brought a darkness that could be felt, so the scripture says. It was a huge dust storm called a tasman or a shirako. These periodic storms carry great quantities of sand and dust from the deserts with speeds up to 80 miles an hour, dropping humidity to less than 5%, and raising the temperature above 100 degrees. The sun is blotted out, and people cannot move from their homes. But this natural phenomenon was nothing compared to the 10th and most famous plague, the death of the firstborn of Egypt. Here we pick up with today's lesson from the Hebrew Scriptures. The Lord commands the Israelites to take a lamb for each household, to kill the lamb, and take some of the blood and put it on the doorposts and lintel of their houses. They are then to eat the roasted lamb with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. Now listen to the scripture. This is how you shall eat it, your loins girded, your sandals on your feet, your staff in your hand. You shall eat it hurriedly. It is the Passover of the Lord. For I will pass through the land of Egypt that night, and I will strike down every firstborn in the land of Egypt, both human beings and animals. On all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgments. I am the Lord. The blood shall be a sign for you on the houses where you live. When I see blood, I will pass over you, and no plague shall destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt. This day shall be a day of remembrance for you. You shall celebrate it as a festival to the Lord. Throughout your generations, you shall observe it as a perpetual ordinance.